facility, something comparable, I would imagine, to Meharry's Hubbard Hospital.
Yes.
But I also understand that you're not having any problems in terms of trying to keep that facility filled.
Well, that hospital is not our hospital. We use the hospital, but it is a county hospital. But because of the problems in healthcare, and because other hospitals are refusing more and more to see poor patients, Medi-Cal patients we call it in California, we have a problem of always having more than 100% occupancy. I don't mean that people are on the floor, but what I mean is that there are always more people in the hospital than was originally intended to be in the hospital. And that is because of the crisis that we have in healthcare. Now, just recently, UCLA decided that they would reduce the number of Medi-Cal patients because it was a financial burden on them. USC decided they would build a separate hospital and would exclude Medi-Cal patients. They exclude people who come to emergency room. They have no emergency room. Because if you have no emergency room, you can't receive emergency patients. And therefore, a poor patient who might come and not be able to pay doesn't get into that hospital. As a result, we have a large influx of patients, poor patients, who have nowhere else to go.
Very good. As a matter of fact, I think one of your former students, Dr. Henry Foster at Meharry here, has indicated that approximately 175,000 people in Tennessee either don't have any medical insurance or don't have access to health care. And let's use that as a springboard to talk about some of what you might consider to be the crises in health care, and especially the impact that it might have upon the minority population. Here, I think in Tennessee, we're dealing primarily with a black population. But I think in your part of the country, not only are you dealing with the black population, you're also dealing with Hispanics and other minority groups. So let's talk about that. Let's spend a few minutes to give us as much information as
I'll make a correction about Dr. Foster. He was never a student of mine, but he's a very close friend, and I have a very high regard for him and the outstanding work which he has done. We face a major problem in healthcare in this country. And it's not only black, it's not only any particular ethnic group, it's a national problem. It's becoming a national scandal. More and more people are finding it extremely difficult to get health care. And private insurers are tending to skim the cream and to ignore the people who have medical problems. They cannot get insured. There are, as a result, millions of people in this country who are without insurance, and the cost of medical care is increasing to such a great extent that middle-income people find it difficult to pay for medical care. And if you happen to lose your job, and your insurance is connected with your job, you have a problem. Compared with other Western nations, the situation in the United States is pretty bad. You just have to cross the border into Canada and see the difference in access to health care. Now, the problems that are the problems of poor people, whether they are black or whether they are white, are related to really two major problems. One is access to care, and two is exposure to greater hazards because of their poverty. If you are exposed to greater hazards, either because of the work that you do as a migrant labor and greater exposure to pesticides, or if you have less access to care, those combination of factors results in a greater mortality for poor people. And African Americans have a higher percentage of poor people than the general population. One of the things I am so proud about as far as Meharry is concerned is its Institute for the Healthcare of the Poor. That institute communicates a message that the concern of this institution is with the health of the poor. And I think it is something that is very important in a climate where healthcare is a major problem.
Very good. Doctor, let's talk about cancer and the impact that that disease has had upon African Americans. as well as some of the work that you're doing in terms of cancer. I think you mentioned that after your presidency, you were the director
of cancer.
Very good.
Yes.
Let's talk about that and give us as much information as you care to give dealing with that disease and where we are in terms of trying to really control it now.
Well, my interest in cancer is from the perspective of prevention. And let me first of all say that 50 years ago, cancer was lower in African Americans than in the white population. And for that reason, there are a lot of people today who still think that blacks have less cancer than whites, because it was true, it was once true. But as time has gone along in recent years, the rate of cancer among blacks has increased so that it now exceeds that of the white population. And one of the factors that's most responsible for that is lung cancer. Lung cancer has increased significantly in the black population. Now, in our consortium involves Drew, Meharry, and Morehouse, which means that we operate from Los Angeles, from Nashville, and in Atlanta. And so we look at the cancer statistics in all three cities. And you would expect, most people would expect that Los Angeles would have a higher rate of lung cancer because of all the smog and pollution that we have in Los Angeles. But our data shows that Nashville has the highest rate of lung cancer of these three cities.
Now, why is that?
Now, the evidence that we have so far is that there's a strong direct relationship between the amount of smoking and the rate of lung cancer. And therefore, lung cancer is one of the things that we know how to prevent. There are some forms of cancer which we can't do anything about because we don't know the cause and we don't know how to prevent it. But in the case of lung cancer, we know if we could cut this smoking down, it will take some time. But if we can reduce the smoking, we can reduce the rate of lung cancer. And it is a matter of great concern to us in the African American population. Now, we don't know all that there is to know about lung cancer because, as a matter of fact, blacks, even though a higher percentage of them smoke, they tend to be not as heavy smokers as whites do. That is, if they smoke, they smoke less. But still, the rates of cancer are higher among blacks, and we need to pay attention to that.
Doctor, before we move on from lung cancer,